4 decades, the FIFA World Cup has been sold as football's ultimate stage, a tournament where every pass, every mistake, and every historic moment is captured from every possible angle. Billions watch. Thousands of journalists report. Cameras cover nearly every corner of the stadium. And yet, despite all of that attention, one World Cup mystery continues to resist a clear explanation. It is a story filled with contradictions, disputed memories, and unanswered questions. Depending on who you ask, the truth seems to change. Some believe the answer is obvious. Others are convinced something important was never fully revealed. What makes this mystery so fascinating is not simply what happened. It is the fact that nobody can agree on why it happened. Investigations were conducted. Experts offered explanations. Witnesses shared their accounts. Years passed, and still the debate remained alive. The more people searched for certainty, the more uncertainty appeared. Today we are retracing that story step by step. We will examine the context, the evidence, the official explanations, and the competing theories that continue to divide football fans around the world. Along the way, you may find yourself changing your mind more than once. And before we begin, consider this question. If the biggest sporting event on earth can still hide a mystery in plain sight, what else might we think we understand without knowing the full story? Keep that question in mind as we follow the trail back to where everything began. Long before the controversy became famous, the World Cup already occupied a unique place in global culture. Every 4 years, nations paused to watch players carry the hopes of millions onto football's grandest stage. Success could transform careers. Failure could define reputations forever. Under that pressure, every detail mattered. The tournament at the center of this mystery was no different. Expectations were enormous. Media coverage was relentless. Fans analyzed every decision, every tactical adjustment, and every unexpected result. In theory, such intense attention should have made confusion impossible. If anything unusual happened, surely someone would notice immediately. Yet history repeatedly shows that major events can produce uncertainty even when thousands of people are watching. Different observers focus on different details. Memories form under stress. Assumptions fill gaps before facts arrive. In the moment, people often believe they understand what they are seeing. Later, they discover they witnessed only part of the picture. As the tournament progressed, excitement continued to build. The teams involved carried significant expectations, and the stakes grew with every match. Nothing suggested that one particular moment would become the source of endless debate. Everything appeared normal. The competition followed its familiar rhythm. Headlines focused on performances, results, and emerging stars. Then something happened that interrupted that rhythm. At first, it seemed like a minor incident. But as questions emerged and explanations collided, a simple moment evolved into one of football's most persistent mysteries, leaving observers wondering whether they had truly understood what they had witnessed at all. The turning point arrived suddenly. What should have been remembered as a straightforward football moment instead triggered confusion that spread far beyond the stadium. Reactions were immediate, yet remarkably inconsistent. Some witnesses described one sequence of events. Others remembered something entirely different. In real time, uncertainty often moves faster than facts. Television commentators attempted to interpret what they had seen. Journalists gathered statements. Fans debated endlessly. Every new account seemed to answer one question while creating another. Instead of producing clarity, the growing volume of information made the situation harder to understand. Part of the problem was timing. Critical moments unfolded quickly. Observers focused on different aspects of the event. Small details that appeared insignificant at first later became central to the debate. When investigators and reporters attempted to reconstruct the sequence, they discovered that multiple versions of the story already existed. The confusion generated a powerful narrative. People wanted an explanation because explanations create order. They transform uncertainty into something manageable. But the available evidence refused to fit neatly into a single story. Contradictions emerged. Witness recollections differed. Interpretations varied depending on perspective. Soon, the incident became larger than the event itself. Discussion spread across newspapers, television programs, and football circles around the world. What happened was no longer the only question. People also wanted to know why opinions differed so dramatically. That question would become the foundation of the mystery. Because before anyone could understand the deeper meaning of the incident, they first had to determine what had actually happened. And that proved far more difficult than expected. As public debate intensified, official explanations began to emerge. Authorities sought to establish a clear timeline and provide reassurance that the situation had been properly understood. On the surface, their conclusions appeared reasonable. They offered structure where confusion existed and attempted to replace speculation with documented facts. For many observers, that should have been the end of the story. Institutions are often expected to provide definitive answers, especially during events as significant as the World Cup. Yet the reaction was surprisingly mixed. While some accepted the official account, others remained unconvinced. The reason was simple. Certain details appeared difficult to reconcile. Critics pointed to inconsistencies between statements. Journalists highlighted unanswered questions. Analysts revisited footage and records, searching for information that might support or challenge the accepted narrative. Importantly, skepticism did not automatically prove wrongdoing. Doubt and evidence are not the same thing. However, uncertainty creates opportunities for alternative interpretations. When people believe a story contains gaps, they begin looking elsewhere for explanations. This dynamic transformed the discussion. The debate was no longer limited to the original incident. It expanded into a broader argument about trust, interpretation, and the reliability of available information. Every side believed the evidence supported its position. As months passed, confidence in a single explanation weakened. The official account remained influential, but it failed to eliminate disagreement. Instead, it became one competing narrative among several. And once multiple narratives exist, resolving a mystery becomes dramatically harder, because people stop arguing about facts alone and start arguing about which facts deserve to matter most. Years later, investigators and historians began examining the case with fresh eyes. Distance from the original event offered an advantage. Emotions had cooled, archives expanded, and new perspectives became available. Many believed that time would finally deliver clarity. Instead, time revealed additional complications. Researchers uncovered statements that had received little attention during the original coverage. Some accounts appeared to support established explanations. Others raised entirely new questions. Details previously dismissed as unimportant suddenly seemed relevant. Information that once appeared decisive looked less convincing under closer examination. One recurring problem involved memory. Human recollection is powerful but imperfect. People often remember emotional events vividly while unintentionally altering smaller details. When multiple witnesses recall the same moment differently, determining accuracy becomes extremely challenging. Another issue involved interpretation. Evidence rarely speaks for itself. Observers bring assumptions, expectations, and prior beliefs into their analysis. Two people can examine identical information and reach completely different conclusions. As these complications accumulated, the mystery evolved. What initially seemed like a search for one missing answer became a study of uncertainty itself. Every clue carried potential significance, yet none delivered complete certainty. Ironically, deeper investigation made the story more fascinating. Instead of collapsing under scrutiny, the mystery survived. Each attempt to solve it exposed additional layers of complexity. By this stage, many observers began asking a different question. Perhaps the real mystery was not what happened during that World Cup moment. Perhaps the real mystery was why certainty remained so difficult to achieve despite years of investigation. Whenever uncertainty survives long enough, theories emerge. The World Cup mystery was no exception. Some explanations relied heavily on documented evidence. Others depended on speculation, coincidence, or suspicion. Together, they created a landscape where almost every possibility attracted supporters. One theory argued that the incident was exactly what officials claimed. According to this view, confusion resulted from incomplete information and emotional reactions. The simplest explanation remained the most convincing. A competing theory suggested that important details were overlooked during the original investigation. Supporters believed that small inconsistencies pointed toward a more complex reality. They did not necessarily claim a conspiracy. Instead, they argued that critical facts never received sufficient attention. Then came the more dramatic interpretations. These theories gained popularity because they offered certainty where evidence could not. They transformed ambiguity into clear narratives with heroes, villains, and hidden motives. Even when proof remained limited, the stories themselves proved compelling. Psychology helps explain why. Human beings generally dislike unresolved questions. We prefer conclusions, even imperfect ones, over uncertainty. A convincing theory can feel more satisfying than an honest admission that the truth remains unclear. The problem is that satisfaction and accuracy are not the same thing. Many popular theories survive because they are memorable, not because they are correct. As the years passed, the mystery became part history and part folklore. Every generation of fans encountered the debate and formed new opinions. Yet despite countless discussions, no theory managed to eliminate all doubts. Each explanation solved some questions while leaving others unanswered. Eventually, attention shifted beyond the incident itself. Researchers began exploring what the mystery revealed about football, media, and collective memory. In many ways, the unanswered questions became more significant than the original event. The World Cup occupies a unique position in modern culture. Because it is watched by such enormous audiences, people often assume that every important detail is documented perfectly. The mystery challenged that assumption. It demonstrated that visibility does not automatically create certainty. Media coverage also played a crucial role. Early reports shaped public understanding, but later investigations sometimes challenged those initial conclusions. Once a narrative becomes established, changing perceptions can be difficult, even when new information emerges. Technology added another layer. Modern viewers often believe that video evidence can resolve any dispute. Yet footage still requires interpretation. Cameras capture moments, not intentions. They record actions, not necessarily meanings. Different observers can study the same images and draw different conclusions. The mystery therefore became a case study in how stories evolve. Facts interact with memory. Evidence interacts with belief. Public discussion influences future interpretation. Over time, the event grows larger than the moment that created it. Perhaps that is why the debate has endured. It touches on questions that extend far beyond football. How do people decide what is true? How much evidence is enough? And what happens when certainty remains permanently out of reach? Those questions ensured that the mystery would survive long after the tournament itself faded into history. Before closing the case, one final observation deserves attention. Across decades of debate, the mystery survived every prediction of its disappearance. New tournaments arrived, new champions emerged, and football continued evolving. Yet this unresolved question remained relevant because it challenged certainty itself. Few sports stories maintain influence without resolution. Fewer still continue attracting researchers, journalists, fans, and historians alike. After decades of discussion, investigation, and debate, the World Cup mystery remains unresolved. Not because nobody searched for answers, but because every answer seemed to generate new questions. Official explanations provided structure. Independent investigations provided insight. Theories provided possibilities. Yet certainty never arrived. Maybe one day new evidence will emerge. Perhaps a forgotten document, an overlooked interview, or a fresh perspective will finally connect the missing pieces. Until then, the mystery continues to occupy a unique place in football history. And that may be the most fascinating outcome of all. In an era obsessed with instant answers, this story reminds us that some questions remain open. Some events resist simple explanations. Some mysteries survive precisely because they cannot be reduced to a single conclusion. So what do you think happened? Which explanation seems most convincing? And which detail raises the biggest doubt? Share your perspective below. The conversation surrounding this World Cup mystery is still evolving, And the next important clue may come from someone willing to look at the story differently.